Hi, friends. It's Mrs. McCarver, and it's time for today's reading lesson. Yesterday, we started to do some work by jotting some ideas about the setting on a piece of paper or sticky note or a board while we were reading. This helps us to talk about and understand our story. So today, we're going to do a little more practice with this, but I want to think about the character today. That's what I'm going to be jotting about on my sticky note. So remember, the character is the person or animal or sometimes thing that this story is about, what everything is happening to. Who's that character in this book? That's right, it's Worm. So I'm going to be thinking about Worm as a character, what he's doing, what he's saying, how he's feeling, and I'm going to jot some notes down about that so that I can remember and try to understand my story a little bit more. All right, friends, so here's my book and my materials. And remember, I was jotting about the setting yesterday. The setting is in Worm's house, and that's how I know Worm is a problem, because this water is dripping on his head. Now, let me think a little bit more about Worm as a character. So he first got dripped on. Look at his face. How's he feeling? Thinking Worm is feeling pretty surprised, because if something started dripping on my head, I would be feeling surprised. And look how big his eyes are. His mouth is wide open. Okay, so now I know how he's feeling. And let's see, then Worm, he went to get a bucket. Okay, so now I'm thinking, well, he didn't just sit there. He didn't ask someone what to do. He just went and did it. All right, so Worm kind of is a problem solver. Now, let's see. Oh my gosh, what's happening now on this page? Drip, drip, drip. He caught the first drip, but now it's dripping on the floor and on his boat. Look at his face. How's he feeling? He's surprised again, because now there are more drips. Well, let's see what Worm does. Oh, look at that. He's got a bucket on his head and a bucket in his mouth. He's getting 2 more buckets to catch the water. Worm gets more buckets. That tells me even more about Worm as a character. He didn't give up. He didn't sit there and cry. He didn't sit there and cry. He tried to solve the problem. He persevered. So now I know even more about Worm. Let me jot that down. So my character in this book is Worm. Let me draw a quick sketch. Look how fast I can do that, right? We're not spending all our time with an elaborate drawing. There's Worm. Let me write his name. Worm. Oh, look, it's right there. I can use all the letters today. There's Worm. That's my character. In this book, he doesn't have an actual name, so I can just call him Worm. But sometimes stories, the characters have an actual name, and it's very important to try to use that name. Now, what do I know about Worm? Well, Worm is surprised. I'm going to make some big eyes there on his head. And he is surprised. Okay? Worm is surprised. And he's a problem solver, right? He got those buckets out. So I'm going to solve that problem. There's the water dripping down. And he is going to be a problem solver. So now I wrote 3 quick things about Worm as a character, and I can use that to talk about the book. Today, as you're doing your independent reading, whatever book you're reading, I would love for you to jot some notes about the character or characters in your book. Now that I have both of these sticky notes, I could easily tell someone more about this book, because when I thought about the setting and the character, it really helped me to understand what was happening.